Good morning, Kirk. My name is Pastor Chris Serber. My family and I are currently serving on the mission field in Haiti. We live in a little community called Moe, Haiti, of about 10,000 people. And most of you are aware of our work. You are one of our covenant churches. In fact, for us, for Christina and I, you're so much more than that, as the Kirk was the first place of pastoral ministry for me after leaving the military, pursuing full-time pastoral ministry, transitioning from a kind of lay preacher into the pastorate. And Pastor Jerry and his family opened their hearts and arms to us, and the Kirk opened the church to us and made a huge impact. It was really a pivotal point in our life and in our ministry. And so for us, you are ever dear to our heart, and we so appreciate your prayers, your financial support, your friendship, the fact that I can count on you to be there for us is really monumental and very important to us. And so tonight I'm sitting in the back of a parking lot behind a hotel in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, where we came to take a little break from Haiti so the kids could go to a McDonald's, as there's not one fast food chain in the whole country of Haiti. And in fact, the thought of it sustaining that is kind of funny. It would be very difficult. And also, so the kids could enjoy things like electricity without having to hear my generator running. And so we've enjoyed a nice little break in Santo Domingo, and we're headed back to Haiti Sunday for a big push of ministry these last couple of months that will be in country this year, the next 3 months, I guess, until October. And then we'll be back in the United States to speak at our supporting churches and also talk to some new churches that have wanted to do some things and send some mission teams. And so hopefully, before long, we'll be able to speak in person. But until then, I wanted to make this video for you tonight, sharing with you some updates. I jotted down a few of the things that we've done this year, just to kind of give you an update, and along the way I hope to kind of impart a bit of my heart and our vision for ministry in general, and specifically through the work that we're doing this year and at this season in our life in Haiti. And so I want to tell you some of the things we've done this year. One of the first things we did this year was to get a church plant off the ground in a Haitian community called Bolise. Now, Bolise happens to be where we met our adoptive daughter, Carmelie, a little Haitian girl that lives with us and has become a part of our family. And we were doing our short-term work before we moved to Haiti in that community. We had lasting friendships and relationships with Haitians in that area, basically on this place we sometimes call the Hill, because it's just a kind of a big hill and there's a lot of people that live on it. And so we started a church. We named the church Famille Bonnier, God's Family. We started this church for these people because many of them are very poor. Even by Haitian standards, this is a very poor community. And in this community, a number of people don't necessarily have nice clothes to wear to church on Sunday. And a number of them have told us, when I asked them, why don't you go to church? You claim to be a Christian, you love our Bible classes, why don't you go to church? And they've said, well, in Haiti, which I've found is the case, in many of the churches, perhaps most, if you can't come dressed up, even though you're very poor and maybe it's the nicest clothes that you have that you would wear to church, if you can't come fairly well dressed, then the attitude in the churches is you're really not welcome there. Or in a few of the churches, they'll actually be so bold as to ask you to leave. And so we wanted to plant a church with a sort of come as you are kind of an atmosphere that was just about the gospel, just about elevating the worth of Christ through worship and fellowship and friendship. And you know, it's really incredible. God has had his hand on this ministry from the start in miraculous and in supernatural ways. And we planted the church with me preaching through a translator and Christina praying through a translator. And then we have had a number of people help us do worship, including several of the Haitian people who are a part of the church. On our first Sunday, we had nearly 100 people in this church that meets under a sort of braided roof, braided from palm branches, with some, rudimentary structure, really very rudimentary structure. But it's the house of God because the people of God meet there, and the Holy Spirit comes in with the people coming to worship Christ. And so we planted the church, we got things off the ground, and I started saying to people, I mentioned to one of my translators, I've got to start looking for a Haitian pastor to take over the leadership of this church by the end of the year. And this man said, I know someone who is an associate pastor that has been wanting to pastor a church for a long time. I wonder if you'd meet with him. And so I said, okay, maybe. I want to do this by the end of the year. This was in about, March. And so I said, hey, okay, I'll meet with him. I'd already talked to a number of pastors to talk to their associate pastors or youth pastors or just sort of a number of pastors always hovering around Haitian churches who all want to pastor a church and do various ministries in the churches. And so I went and talked to this man, Pastor Ebel, and he said, I'd love to consider that. Well, we took him up to the hill. We took him up to this ministry site in Bolise, and it turns out that Pastor Ebel knew more than half of the people. He had grown up with a number of the people, in fact. And so, in a really unusual way, God sent me a Haitian pastor. And he was the right pastor for this church. I'd been praying for a certain kind of pastor. This guy was that. On Easter Sunday, Pâques, they say in Creole. On Easter Sunday, we installed him as the pastor of the church with 100% blessing from all of the people who had been coming and had made up this church and still make up this church. And so on Easter Sunday, we had a dinner celebration, and we installed Pastor Ebel as the pastor of Famille Bonnier, of God's Family. Now he's enlarged the name and made it much longer. Now it's God's Family Independent First Church of something, and which is difficult to say in Creole. And so at any rate, we planted a Haitian church, and within 4 months, we turned it over to Haitian leadership, which really sort of defines our model for ministry. Everything that we're doing, and I'll share with you some more things. We've done a lot this year. Everything that we're doing, we're establishing with Haitian leadership, with Haitian indigenous leadership, so that as we do ministry, we're able to, right now, of course, we are very hands-on and we're doing ministry. But as we go along, we want to be able to transition our ministries to be primarily Haitian ran, so that Haitians can interact with Haitians and do ministry. So we become an empowering force in Haiti, rather than making people dependent on us, which is sadly the model that is being followed a lot in Haiti, sometimes by necessity, because the conditions are so difficult to do ministry, and sometimes because of a lack of foresight. We've got to do ministry, we believe, in such a way so that we're allowing and empowering Haitians to minister to Haitians, so that they are able to interact with Haitians because they understand Haitians better than we do. I speak fairly good Creole, and so do the kids, and in fact, Hansel now speaks, I think sometimes he speaks better Creole than I do, and from interacting with our friends and our Haitian staff, and so on. And Christina has come a long way in her ability to speak and communicate, and so all of us speak Creole, but we're still not Haitian. We can live in Haiti, we can eat Haitian food, we can act like Haitians, we can do everything. We wear Haitian clothes, whatever that means. But we still won't be Haitians. And so our model for ministry, is sort of typified with Pastor Ebel, is to establish ministries and then continue those ministries. But our primary focus is on doing so through Haitian leadership. And that also gives us the opportunity to make a financial impact in Haiti, because rather than handing out random charity, which there is no shortage of requests for random charity in Haiti, rather than handing out random charity, we think that it's a lot better to provide a ministry stipend or a salary to an indigenous missionary, a Haitian church leader, a ministry leader, to perform their functions under the auspices of supply and multiply. And in so doing, we can change their life radically. So here's a couple of the other things that we're doing. Our backyard Bible clubs are off the ground and running. Oh, God sent us a Haitian man named Alex. Alex is a wonderful Christian guy. He's a young man he's been in his late 20s. He's a wonderful Christian guy with a heart that is broken to see the children of Haiti come to Christ. We had been doing some things by way of Bible teaching and Bible education and Bible distribution in the community, but we wanted to do more. And at just the right time, God sent us Alex. And so we started to invest in Alex and empower Alex. Alex already had Bible clubs. He was just calling them Bible studies. He already had these Bible studies with some Haitian children. Him and an American missionary who was in Haiti for a year established one, and then Alex started doing some others. And so Alex is holding a number of these Bible clubs, these Bible studies weekly for Haitian children and young people. Now, we had a mission team come this year. We've had about 7 mission teams come this year, some for medical mission. We served over 400 people through our medical mission teams that have come this year. 400 people in the city of Moe and in and around Moe. And one of the mission teams that came met Alex and wanted to bless him. And Alex had told me about how he wished he had a motorcycle so he could go up into the mountains and he could do more Bible classes. And so I was talking to Alex one day, and he said that. It really, he was just sort of saying it. I don't think he had any thoughts that I would actually get him a motorcycle. And so one of our mission teams came, and they fell in love with Alex, and they said, hey, what can we do for Alex? And I said, I'd love to get him transportation so that he could go up into the mountains and do more Bible classes in some of the communities that we've gone and built relationships and sort of laid foundation for ministry. And so this mission team said, how much would a motorcycle cost? So I told them it's several $100s. And at the end of their week, they handed me the money, and we bought Alex a motorcycle. Now, Supply and Multiply also added to that amount, and we were able to get him proper license and registration and insurance and all that. We want to do everything above board. Everything that we do it completely legal and in Haiti, and which is saying something. It's not always easy to do that, but we do things above board without reproach, and consequently we have a very strong reputation among Haitian leadership and among Haitian pastors and among the Haitian community. And so we were able to do that for Alex, and then later another mission team, a couple of people said, hey, I'd love to sponsor Alex's ministry, and we already have one person, in fact, from Florida, who's helping sponsor our backyard Bible clubs. And so we're able to give Alex a stipend, which is putting gas in his motorcycle to go into the mountains. We're able to give him Creole New Testaments that he's distributing to children in his Bible clubs. And also we're able to make sure that Alex has food and that he has a small salary, which is sufficient for him to live off of. And as we go along, to the extent that we're able, we're going to continue to pour more resources into Alex, into his ministry, which is really an extension now of our ministry, as he's officially a part of Supply and Multiply. And so our backyard Bible clubs are going very strong, and Alex is a big part of that. And this year, here's just a few highlights that we wrote down. This year I've preached in more than 20 Haitian churches. Every Sunday I try to make it a point to preach in a different church, in another Haitian church, in or around Moe, almost entirely in the city, the community of Moe. And so I've preached in about 20 churches. I've also done revivals during the weeknights. They'll hold a revival for sometimes 4 or 5 nights of a week, and they'll do that. And I've also, this year we had one of our mission teams came, and they helped us to be able to have the resources to do an open-air crusade. We had a very large crusade. It led some people to Christ that night, and a number of Haitian pastors that I'm in relationship with, they came and helped. And so we're doing a lot in that way, and this is allowing us to build relationships with the local churches and with the local pastors, which will allow us long-term ministry. Because through relationships with those pastors, we're able to identify needs, we're able to facilitate ministry, we're able to minister to their children in their churches and to their elderly people in their churches and to all the people in their churches. And so that's a big part of what we're doing, is especially from my side of the things that I do directly. Preaching in these churches has allowed me to present the gospel, the grace-filled, pure gospel in these Haitian churches, which are often very legalistic. And to build relationship with pastors and to gain their respect, so that as we go along, I'm able to make an impact in Haiti, also by way of nurturing pastors and mentoring pastors who look at me as a sort of pastor to pastors and look to me for leadership. And so God is blessing us that way, and it's something I find very humbling and really a beautiful thing, an aspect of the ministry that I've always enjoyed, being able to nurture and encourage pastors, because I know their struggles, I know their trials, I know their hardship, and in Haiti, those things are only greatly multiplied, really. And so this year we've done that, preached in all these churches, and we continue to do so. We continue to build new relationships with Haitian pastors in their churches. And also, Christina nurtured and educated children for a school for children in an orphanage, 4 to 5 days a week, depending on the week, depending on the activities. For the first almost longer than that, about 5.5 months that we were here, she was one of two teachers, teaching all of the children in one of the orphanages that we are in relationship with. Christina poured love and life and educated these kids. Our kids joined in and went to school this year with all of these kids, and which really broadened their understanding. My children have friends, good friends they know by first name, have history and relationship with kids that are growing up in an orphanage, and I think that's very beautiful. It's expanded their understanding of what it means to be family, to be a follower of Christ. And Christina did a wonderful job this year teaching and loving these kids, and the love that these kids have for her is obvious and evident. And I supported the school. I used to really, I joked that my role was primarily to dish out empty threats to the kids when they weren't behaving, because at the end of the day, I'm going to find it very difficult to be very hard on a kid growing up in an orphanage. So I dished out a lot of empty threats, and occasionally picked the kid up by their ankles, some of the little kids, to get them to laugh and break them out of a bad mood or something, and also to with some frequency bring in our snow cone machine and make snow cones for all the kids. So that was my role, was really the hander-outer of empty threats, the tickler, and the provider of the occasional snow cone. Christina actually did a little bit more and taught these kids and loved on these kids and counseled these kids, and was their educator. And really one of the more profound and significant things that we have been blessed to be able to do this year. Let's see, I'll get to my list and get down a few things. We sponsored, Supply and Multiply sponsored 7 children for school this year. In Haiti, you have to pay to go to school. Some schools are government-sponsored schools, but the government seldom has the money to pay the teachers or to pay for anything, really. And so you have to pay to go to school, and you have to buy a uniform and shoes and all that stuff. You see people who are desperately poor, but they look nice when they go to school because they have to have a uniform, they have to have nice patent leather shoes. But so it's one of the biggest expenses. You'll even see Haitian families with some frequency, they'll rotate through the kids who gets to go to school this year. So it's not uncommon to see a 22-year-old in the 6th grade. It's not uncommon at all. And they're just happy to, if they have a school sponsor. Most of them are paying for school by way of a ministry sponsor, or a short-term missionary who wanted to help or something. And it's not uncommon at all to see that situation. So we sponsored 7 kids for school this year, and we paid the tuition. Supply and Multiply did. Really, you did. Our sponsors, our supporters, and our covenant partners allowed us this year to pay for the college tuition of one man, one of my translators, who is a brilliant guy, just struggling to try to get ahead and can speak 3 languages fluently, 4 languages in fact, French, English, Spanish, and Creole. And so we want to help him, and we were able to help him with one of his semesters of college this year. And so we helped some people go to school. I think I mentioned to you earlier, we served more than 400 people through our medical missions this year. We financially supported a church revival, a couple of those in fact, and a pastor's 25th wedding anniversary. In Haiti, being a pastor is a big deal. In fact, in Haiti, they call Christina Madam Pastor instead of Christina. Most of our staff, most of our friends and the churches, they'll call her Madam Pastor. And pastors get a lot of respect in Haiti. And so this man's 25th wedding anniversary, he in fact is the pastor of one of our staff, Gary, and he's become a good friend of mine. I've preached in his church a few times. And so I spoke at his 25th wedding anniversary, which happened to be held on a Sunday morning at church. And that church service lasted 5 hours. And I brought the kids and Christina, and we had some other friends there from the United States. And so everybody but me felt like they'd had enough church for several weeks. And so it was tough to get people to go to church again the next week. So we've done a number of things like that. Also this year, we've employed 5 Haitian staff, 2 security guards, 2 full-time guards, a part-time guard, and 2 women who have helped with the kids and helped with mission teams for cooking and for taking care of the house and their needs when we had teams with us in Haiti this year. And when we have teams, we have a couple of more mission teams coming this year before we go back to the United States this fall to speak at our supporting churches. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in person. Let's see, and I'll go ahead and close out with these 2 things. Our big push right now, if you look at our ministry organizationally, we have the Backyard Bible Clubs, and we have Alex, who is facilitating the majority of that. We support what he does. Supply and Multiply provides for him a stipend. We are providing for him a number of resources, including Creole New Testaments for his Bible clubs, and for that aspect of our ministry. We're directly involved in it in a number of ways too, but our primary approach with that is to send Alex into these communities, and then Christina and I go in with him to build relationships, but it's something that he does weekly. And so our Backyard Bible Clubs, then we have, this year in fact, we have built a home for a homeless woman, a previously homeless woman and her children. And we've greatly improved 2 houses this year through sponsors from the United States, people who've contributed resources financially to be able to do these things. And so organizationally, we have our Backyard Bible Clubs and our Matthew 25 builds that we're calling them. It's not really something we thought we would do. We built a house for someone because someone had money and said, hey, I want to build a house for someone. And we said, sure, we know lots of homeless people. And so these people had someone in mind. They asked us to help, and we helped. Before that, we had completely rebuilt a home for someone. One of our board members loves this certain family. Her home was falling apart. She raised the money. And then after that, someone saw these pictures, and a man from the United States said, hey, I'll gladly contribute the first $2,500 toward every home you build. And so we started building some more houses and repairing, finishing, and renovating for increased safety some houses. So we've done 3 of those this year, 1 complete build and 1 rebuild and 1 sort of renovation to make the home safer, to provide beds for the kids who were previously sleeping on a dirt floor. And we have a few more of those identified and in mind to do. So our Matthew 25 ministries include sort of a number of ways that we do random acts of love and kindness and ministry in the communities, but more specifically, these house builds that we intend to do more of. And now our big focus for the rest of this year is the Matthew 25 house. Now the Matthew 25 house is about 80% finished right now, the house, the actual facility, the house itself. And this house, when completed, will house 2 to 4 elderly people, food and shelter insecure elderly people. Gary, who is our day security guard and really helps us in a number of ways to navigate Haiti, Gary will be the director of the Matthew 25 house. So you could say he is the director of it already. As we're finishing it this year, we hope to put people living in it by very early next year or by December of this year. And so Gary is the director of the Matthew 25 house, which will house 2 to 4 elderly people, provide them with food, shelter, and clothing, and all of their needs, really. In Haiti, the children and the elderly people are most vulnerable. Perhaps you could say that's true of everywhere, but especially you see that reality sort of in your face in Haiti. And so Christina had a vision in her heart that God gave her to minister to elderly people in Haiti. And we were talking about ways that we could do that. And Gary was finishing this house. He's been building it little by little. Petit petit oiseau fait niche. Little by little, the bird builds its nest. Gary had been building this house little by little, hoping to one day rent it out. And little did he know when he started it that one day God would send him Supply and Multiply to rent his house annually and to make him the director of the ministry of the Matthew 25 house. Gary is a solid Christian guy, one of my best friends in the world, and has a track record, a several-year track record of being faithful to various missionaries that he's worked for, all of whom we know very well. And so Gary will be, or he is, the director of the Matthew 25 house. By the end of this year, or very early next year, we'll have 2 to 4 elderly people who are food and shelter insecure, which means they don't eat and they're homeless, living inside of this house. We'll provide for them all of their basic needs, and additionally, we'll use the Matthew 25 house as a kind of hub to minister to elderly people who are food and shelter insecure to varying extents in the community of Moe. We've already identified a number of these people through local churches, local pastors, and through Gary's relationship. He's very well networked with the churches, as he's just a solid Christian guy and seems to know everyone in our community. And so as we identify them next year, once we have phase 1 complete, the house completed, and we have some people living in the house, then next year what we intend to do is to identify this broader population. We don't necessarily have a number. We'll see how God leads, and we'll see what we have the resources to do, of a number of people that then we can do things like bring medical mission teams specifically to serve these people who are in our program, who've been given an ID card, who are actually a part of the Matthew 25 house, the Matthew 25 program of Supply and Multiply. And so we'll minister to these people in these ways. We'll distribute food as we're able to do. We'll bring medical mission teams, and we'll bless these people in a number of ways. So what has developed, really, what God has done this year, we came to Haiti to serve. We came to Haiti to promote the gospel. And God has given great clarity to these things. Through my preaching, through Christina's loving of orphans, in addition to teaching at that school for orphans, God also put us in relationship with another orphanage that we've brought mission teams to serve, and that Christina has done biblical counseling with a number of the children inside of the orphanage. And I come along to play with the kids and things like that. And so God has given great clarity to our ministry. Now, I want to finish up this way. Jerry told me that this could be as long as I wanted it, but I think going on this length of time, it's time to wrap it up. The one thing I didn't mention, and there's a bunch of things I didn't mention, because every day in Haiti, you can't help but come across people in need of prayer, in need of something. To the little kids that come to our gate daily, that I let our kids feed, the children who live down at the base of the hill that once in a while we give some crackers to a little girl named Charlie, who came to us through the orphanage that Christina taught in this year. And this little girl, Charlie, who I have a picture on this other device here, if I can get to it, that I'll show you. And let's see if I can do this. One device to another device. So this is Charlie. Okay, that's a picture from when she was living in our house. Charlie came to us near unto death. It's no exaggeration to say that she came to us very near to death. She had been dropped off at the orphanage, one of the orphanages that we work with, and they needed foster care for her. She was very sick. And so we said, okay, we could do it. And so we fostered her for, I think, about 9 weeks. When she came to us, she was vomiting profusely. If you fed her, she would throw it up. She had very severe diarrhea and fever and other symptoms. And Christina was very concerned for her. And so she took her to a doctor who we've since become friends with, who is a Cuban doctor serving a very small Haitian hospital near our house. And so she took him there, and the doctor said, oh, she's got typhoid, I think. And so she was treated for typhoid. She was very far into her sickness. She'd been sick for a long time, at least a month, he thought. And she was very malnourished. She was very dehydrated. And the doctor's question, after they couldn't get an IV in her for so long, was, well, should we just make her comfortable? And Christina and one of the other missionaries that works now with Supply and Multiply, Lindsay Hearn, who is one of the missionaries that she has chosen to partner with us this year and to become a part of our ministry. She and Christina said, no, that's not good enough. We're going to do everything we can to save this kid. And so they finally got an IV in. She started to make a little bit of recovery, and Charlie lived with us in our house for about 9 weeks. She's much healthier now. She's still a high-spirited, stubborn little girl, and but she lived with us for all that time. She got through her typhoid, and she started crawling around our house and playing with the kids. And that picture I just showed you was one that I didn't even know was taken. I just found it on Sebastian's iPad. I didn't even know he had taken it, but he had a whole series that he had taken of her. This experience with Charlie kind of helps illustrate the hardship of doing ministry in Haiti. And so I covered your prayers for our family. She came to us, and after those 9 weeks, the kids wanted her to stay. For a number of reasons, that's not possible. Charlie has a mom and a dad. They just couldn't take care of her, and so they had reached out to the orphanage for help, not necessarily to place her in a new home. But the kids became attached to her. The kids began to love Charlie, and so did we. So do we. And so we had to send her back to the orphanage. Because it was the right time, and also because it was becoming evident that the children were going to have a very difficult time parting from her at any point. You know, and this is what it means to do ministry, I think. It's always messy. And when you have the courage to step out of your comfort place and get into the lives that Jesus wants to transform, it will always be messy. Whether it's in Dunedin or Tampa or Washington, D.C., or anywhere in the United States or anywhere around the world, only to varying degrees. But people's lives are messy. In Haiti, it is poverty. It is extreme lack of education. It is sickness and disease due to almost no public works, almost no access to proper health care, and extreme poverty. In the United States, it's other things. Poverty of the mind, poverty of the spirit, where we have so much we forget how much we need God. But in all of these ways, ministry is messy. And it's not just for pastors, and it's not just for missionaries, it's for every one of us. And so, these are some of the things we've done this year. But I'll tell you what else we've done this year. We've been reminded of God's sovereignty and His faithfulness. Perhaps it's just more obvious when you're living in a place like Haiti. When there's no money in the bank and a church reaches out. When there's no food in the cabinet for your neighbor and God puts a burden on your heart to feed them. It's more obvious. But it's no different. God remains true to His word. God remains faithful to His people. So today I would encourage you, if by anything at all, these are the things we've done this year, and it's not because we're particularly empowered or special. It's because we've been faithful this year. We just heard the voice of God saying, go to this place. This is where you're to be for this season of your life. And so here we are. In this season, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I don't know what next year is going to bring. But I know this, that the same God who was faithful in training me and equipping me for ministry when I was fresh out of the military, serving the Kirk of Dunedin, is the same God who is equipping and empowering us for ministry in Haiti. He's the same God who was with me pastoring churches in America, and He's the same God who will be with me pastoring churches in America again. And He's the same God that is with you even now in this moment at this place. Something like a devotion breakfast can be something that you come to and get some good food and some good laughs and enjoy it, and you can walk out the same. Or it's something where you can come to this place and surrounded by fellow followers of Jesus, you can ask yourself, how is God calling me to be faithful today so that He can remind me of His faithfulness tomorrow? How is God calling me to step out in faith in my church at the Kirk? How is God calling me to strengthen my relationship and investment into the kingdom in this church? Maybe on a mission trip. Who knows in what way? In your family, in another way. Today I would encourage you, only this way. What we have seen this year in Haiti is that God is faithful. This was not new information. However, it has become all the more apparent, and it has deepened our resolve that the best place to be is walking behind Jesus Christ, following Him into whatever He is leading us. Whether it's in corporate America, it's on the beach in Florida, it's wherever, Haiti, whatever. Because the circumstances change, but God does not. But today I would encourage you, I would ask the Lord to bless you, and I would thank you for listening to me for what appears to have been 34 minutes and 59 seconds. The Lord's blessing on you. Thank you for your covenant partnership with Supply and Multiply. In fact, I'm wearing one of our shirts. There's the logo, in case you've forgotten what it looks like. And thank you for your partnership with our family. We consider you family. The Kirk is a very special place for us. And until we see each other again face to face, may the Lord bless you. May He make His face to shine upon you and be faithful to you and give you grace. Thank you so much. Have a good day.